lives. This is really important. We know that our children and our young people are taking our news, walk in the world, and get a lot of mixed messages. And they get mixed messages from the media, from what they experience at school, what they experience at home, and what they experience in their clubs, whether it's sports and on the fields or on the courts, or it's in their music groups, or it's on the stage in theater. They're experiencing mixed messages about how we show up in this world. So what we're trying to do is close that gap. We would like everyone around our children to be demonstrating what it looks like to show up in formal ways and in ways that support our people and our planet. So with that, we're going to start on our 3-day journey. Next slide, please. Thank you. So we're on day 1. We're inspiring and understanding our why. We're discussing today's unique challenges, and we're going to set up our North Stars. We're going to focus on 3 C skills. The first one is connection. That is our Uber C. That's our favorite C. Without connection, none of the rest can really happen. Courage and commitment are our 3 focus areas today. We're going to introduce specific tools and strategies, and then we get to begin our action planning process. Day 2, we're going to go a little bit deeper. We're going to focus on 3 different skills: critical thinking, conflict resolution, and collaboration. And then day 3 is our share out. And that's all 3 days are very inspiring. That 3rd day is a culmination of our action plans where you all get to share with each other what you've developed. Next slide. Maya, today's goals.
Yes, so today is going to be a marvelous day. It's a day of inspiring hope and action. I hope that you all feel a sense of possibility, of momentum, of movement forward. We are convening in person, except me and a couple of others, in order to begin to ignite that sense of collaboration. Let us work together for our beloved community and reframe the work that we have been doing with peace building at the center of it. We hope that by the end of today, you will already, if you do not now, think of yourselves as peace building leaders. And so we will also begin to think about the actions that we as individuals can undertake to engage in peace building in the environments around us, and to grow our capacities to connect the young people and others around us in this shared purpose. So we want you to, one, ensure that you think of yourselves as peace builders, that you enliven a sense of your own capacity to do this work in community and family, in schools. And in so doing, you'll learn concrete tools and activities that you can apply immediately and in the future as you develop your action plans. So thank you. It's going to be a lot of fun. So we want to share with you our basic algorithm, this sort of formula that we feel is so essential, or framework, if you will, for becoming peace-building leaders and nurturing that in others around us. We feel that we have to attend to not just peace within, or personal peace, but also to peace between ourselves and others, or interpersonal peace, and then peace in service, or peace in community. And if we do all 3, we will have adapted and absorbed a peace-building identity. So we have these 7 seeds that we focus on, with a satellite of other seeds. Carrie and I came up with in many C words that we saw as being essential for peace building. And we decided to focus on these 7 in order not to overwhelm. The idea is to perhaps begin with peace within or peace with self through critical thinking, which is essential, and courage. Then also we have to engage others and think about building peace with others through conflict resolution and the nourishment of compassion. And then we work in community and engage in actions by firming up our commitment to one another, and to changing and shifting our community capacity in order to grow peace and justice. We do so not alone, but collaboratively. And the sort of overarching seed is that of connection. We connect with self, with others, and with our communities. It's essential that all 3 of these dimensions be attended to. Carrie and I have reflected that if we have, for instance, courage, but are lacking compassion, then that could be very dangerous. We could act rashly, we could act selfishly. However, if we have compassion and we have not developed courage, then perhaps we won't have the bravery to act on the compassion that we feel, and we'll simply flounder, full of feeling and empathy, but without action. So the idea there is for each of us to engage all 3 of these dimensions. Next slide, please. Finally, we also engage the various environments that impact, that affect, young people. So we work principally here today with the adults who serve, who care for, who guide, who mentor, who nourish, and who love young people. So we want to think about all of the environments so that there is consistent peace-building messaging between the 3 environments, and so that these 3 environments begin to support and care for and collaborate with one another. So we really think about the home, not just parents, but of course, families are shaped in innumerable ways. So we're looking at caregivers, we're looking at siblings, we're looking at grandparents and extended ohana, so many different configurations. And then we're also attending to the school environment. And school, of course, is not just about the teachers, but so many different people impact young people at schools, right? The counselors, the coaches, the various administrative and school staff. And then we think about the community where young people are getting messages about how to live, lead, be, learn. So we're looking at, innumerable community resources. Maybe there are artistic resources, there are athletic resources, there are spiritual resources. So we're looking at the human service providers, police officers, medical professionals, and a variety of community organizations. Now, we want to bolster all of these individuals and organizations to enable them to care for and nourish peace-building capacity in our young people, to grow a generation tomorrow and today that is capable and interested in building peace and justice.
Scott, just to share a little bit about Ceeds' efforts, and I want to echo before I turn over to Scott what we talk about in terms of where we engage. I think if the pandemic has done anything, it has elevated the importance of all of those folks you saw in those circles. You are the basic infrastructure of our communities. And I think it's really important that we ride this in a way that is strategic. We talk a lot about reimagine or reset or redefine or re-engage. I want us to reimagine something dramatically different. We don't want to go back to pre-COVID. Right? Pre-COVID was not a healthy environment oftentimes for our families and for our kids. So let us reimagine a different future that we want, a different type of classroom, a different type of school, a different type of family, structure that's more joyful, more loving, and more supportive. So I'm going to encourage all of us to do that today.
And I just want to give a quick bird's eye view of all the work that we do at Ceeds. This is one of several programs that we offer at Ceeds. We also do a lot of work directly with youth. So we have contacts with different schools. We work with different partners in the community to bring youth together, to give them platforms to be activists and community organizers and peace builders and change makers. We're trying to kind of uplift voice and give them that opportunity to be leaders without adults getting in the way. So that's kind of one of our pockets of work. Another pocket is our, what I call our resilience work. So we're currently working with 5 public elementary schools across the islands. Don, help me with this if I miss anybody. Paia, Honaunau, Mountain View, Waianae, and Blanche Hope in Waimanalo right now. And we are, gosh, I could talk for hours on this, but I'll try to put it into 30 seconds. We are trying to build support networks around these youth. So we're making partnerships with the local health centers in each of these communities. We are bringing on community school coordinators to work in each of these schools. So Trish is actually one of our coordinators, and she's kind of building these connections. We are bringing in expert speakers to talk about things like trauma-sensitive care. We're doing a lot. We're giving grants to these schools to kind of uplift their SEL efforts. So kind of this concerted approach to sort of build a support network around something. So that's another pocket of our work. Another pocket is we're trying to take care of teachers and parents, especially during, I guess we could say post-pandemic now, but especially during the pandemic, it was a very stressful time for teachers and parents especially. And we have a project in partnership with the University of Hawaii Center on Disability Studies to actually give these mini grants to teachers and parents to launch well-being action plan. Again, that's another one I can talk a lot about. So come see me after if you're interested. We will be launching another cohort shortly. So those are kind of our 4 big pockets of services. And again, I'd love to talk to folks more about it after the workshop. I'm going to hand it back to Carrie.
Thank you, Scott, and thank you to the team for shepherding all of this project. I'm going to pull it out 30,000 feet. Where does this work sit? I think all of you know that social and emotional learning and social and emotional skill sets are hard skill sets. I think we used to talk about them as soft skill sets. They're not soft. They're very hard, and they're actually the most important skill sets, in my opinion, for humans to develop. And all of our action plans and all the action plans that you will develop moving forward will fall under some of the Sustainable Development Goals, which is really exciting work. So you could be working on hunger alleviation in schools or in your communities, quality education, gender equality, I jumped down here, climate action, number 16, peace, justice, and strong institutions. So as you're thinking about your action plan, think about which Sustainable Development Goals you're supporting. So it's really awesome that Ceeds of Peace is aligning these Sustainable Development Goals. We want every person, every industry on the planet to be aligning with these goals. Next slide. So where does peace building start? It starts in utero. It starts when our human brains are starting to form. And what I like about this is you look at the synapses of an infant. You look at the synapses by 6 years old. That birth to 5 time period of supporting our youngest baby and how they are learning how to respond to their environments, how they're learning to control themselves, how they're learning to communicate, how that, all of those things are so critically important because once they hit age 6, those synapses naturally start to prune. So we want to get as many of those synapses connected by age 6. So we want to start early. It starts with all of the adults and around our youngest people. Next slide. Maya, back to you.
Yeah, so social emotional learning, as Carrie points out, is not only important, but it is also physical, right? And it is spiritual, it is intellectual. So it is all working together. We need to have this whole child view in the work that we do, whether that work is taking place at home and community or in schools. There is robust research showing that attending to social emotional development not only leads to greater self-confidence and positive social behaviors, but to increased intellectual capacity, positive attitudes towards school, a reduction of behavioral issues, self-regulation, which leads to less suspension, less expulsion. There is considerable research that connects social emotional development and sense of well-being to improved academic outcomes, but also to behavior that is more productive and geared towards wellness in terms of reduced drug use, reduced violence, reduced aggression, and for those who are working with our young people, social emotional development allows for better, easier, more effective communication, connection, understanding, and therefore leads to lowered educational burnout and greater educator pleasure. So let's invest in ongoing and innumerable and multifaceted ways in social emotional development of our young people. We have a lot of challenges right now that we're facing and have been facing. As the pandemic unfolded, we of course noted a rise in racism and hate crimes, a lot of pandemic-related negative impacts on mental health. Our mental health professionals and counselors are experiencing a lot of overwhelm themselves. There's extreme amount of need and real challenges in terms of providing all of the support that is desired. We have seen an uptick in climate and environmental crises. I just heard from friends where Seattle this last week, where my friends are situated, has the worst air quality in the world for a number of days. So we're seeing wildfires, increased storms, obviously loss of ecosystems, and this is being experienced most acutely by frontline community people, including islanders, and our Asia Pacific region. In the midst of all of this, there is political division that is making it very difficult for some of the policy growth and impacts to be won and nourished. And we are in a place where we have to really commit to our democracy, to healing it, fixing it, and reimagining it. So the challenges are great and many.
I'm going to talk about the strengths. I think there's been a lot of silver linings in the last 7 years as well. So we will talk about those, but we're going to actually lead that conversation. So one thing we noticed too during the pandemic is we were all across the globe in the same storm. But many of us in different boats. And so the kids that we know that have struggled the most are those that had mental challenges before the pandemic. And so the pandemic oftentimes exacerbated that. The exception would be the kids who did not feel safe at school. They were being bullied at school. They were isolated. It was not a good place. It was not a joyful place for them. For those kids, it was actually better to be at home. And harder to reconnect when they came back to school. Children living in poverty, we all know that they had a significant disadvantage, particularly with the access to digital opportunities. Children who lack in-person virtual access, children who are isolated from support networks, those facing abuse and neglect and or partner violence, and then children whose parents suffered from substance use challenges, or they suffered challenges themselves. So when you think about kids that come into your space, whatever space it is that you host, they're coming with all of that. Whatever it is that's going on with them, if they've lost a loved one during the pandemic, that's what they're coming in with. Right? So we really want to be, I know we are very anxious to get them back on track academically. But if they aren't well, it's going to be very hard for them to learn. And so what can we do to support that? Next slide, please. So I don't like to just put things out there without some data behind it. And so I'm going to give you just a moment to take a look at this data. And then I'm going to turn it over to you all to have some table talk conversation. Okay, so this is humbling data. However, there is a global call to action to support children's and people's mental health. And I think social emotional learning is becoming a top priority for everybody. So I'm going to have all of you, we know that you all, every single one of you have done something in your classroom or in your home or in your community to help elevate wellness. And so I'd like you all to take a few minutes to share what have you done and what is your school, home, or community doing to tackle children's mental health challenges as a result of COVID. And it can be a small action, it can be a coordinated action, all the actions matter. So take a moment just to share what you've been doing. And we'll come back. And people online, if you could please put into chat what you've been doing, we'll make sure that we gather some of the chat feedback as well.
It's fine. Yeah.
Okay, one more minute. Welcome back. Sharing. We're going to be sharing. We're going to make sure we capture some ideas here in the room and some ideas that came through chat. So we'll start first with folks in the room. If we can just have, it doesn't have to be your own. It can be one that you heard that inspired you. If you can just share, what did you hear? What you think? Oh, that's such a good idea. Thank you for volunteering to go first.
Well, we were all talking about meditation, mindfulness, deep breathing, pranayama. I think all that really helps to center whatever you're doing, anytime you're frustrated or anxious or just coming back to the breath.
Wonderful, thank you. The breath is free and it comes with us everywhere. That's a wonderful tool. Thank you for sharing. We have a couple more people in the room sharing, and we'll turn it over to the chat. Thank you.
I go to faculty meetings. I do a half hour with them. And then I also go and work with the kids. And the main thing is shoulder, neck, sitting kind of movements to release stress. And then with the kids, is to just get them to move their bodies and like you said, mindfully connect brain and their body.
Thank you. Movement. I think one thing we can do is reimagine the places where we are convening young people, and how do we build in more movement? We all know, we've all seen the research, right? It elevates learning, it elevates focus, but we don't do it enough. We expect kids to sit in chairs for long periods of time. That is not their happy place. So how do we integrate more movement? Thank you. One more. Thank you.
I've been incorporating more like informal talk story time with a community role at the beginning of my classroom. I learned from another teacher called it brags and vents. So a student will be the MC for a couple weeks and they pick on other students to brag about something or vent. And then they ask you for the questions, and it's helps community building a lot.
Awesome. Time and space to tell story. Right. Another thing we don't build in enough time for. I think we're learning how important that is. And I like that brags and vents. Maya and I often use roses and thorns. It's similar, but I like brags and vents. Thank you. Dawn, what are we hearing in the chat?
So a number of wonderful things echoed in the chat also too. So meditation, mindfulness practice, nonviolent communication also too. And then this idea also too that many of you had echoed around just really providing that space for folks to just go and talk about mental health, because we don't get to talk about that very often. But one thing that really resonated in the chat was around this idea of strengths-based storytelling and the power of our story and being able to go and share that and feel heard and seen. So mahalo to all of our virtual folks.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you, Dawn. And then I just want to share something in my day job that I appreciate about in our business community is we're starting some biz for Ohana. So how do we reimagine our businesses to be communities? What does that look and feel like? How do businesses better support childcare needs? How do they support their employees who might be experiencing family violence, or their employees that are having mental health challenges? What does it look like to have our businesses feel like community? And so again, reimagine. Thank you. Next slide. So what can we do? What can we do? We can connect with one another and create platforms for our children to share with and support one another and collaboratively problem solve. We can find the courage to be an upstander and to take action. The pandemic has given us permission. The political divides have given us permission to use our voices and to be upstanders for those that are not seen and heard and respected. It's so important. Commit to being a champion for our KKN youth. So we're going to start with a video of what can we do, and this is to promote connection.
Have a nice mustache. One, two, three, four, five, six, five. Sechs, fünf.
Are you new in Baden?
Yeah, 8 months.
And are you alone here or with your family?
No, I don't. This life, sometime nice, sometime not good.
Hi. Beatrice. Oh my god, I'm keeping my eyes on you. Wow. Hello. I expect you to ask my number. Be a strong man.
Thank you so much.
We will go to the zoo, maybe next this few days. I will text you if you would like to.
I would love it. Of course. You can do it.
When I was looking into her eyes, I was trying to see what I could tell from the life that she lived, and I think I could tell that there was a lot of experience lived there.
It doesn't matter, look at the eyes or something, just give yourself a chance to talk and to look at the other person.
There was so much in that video that moved me. What I want you folks to think about is, sometimes that connection does not have to come through extraordinary measures. Like, you can keep it simple. Who is beside you? Who is before you? Where are there opportunities for you to connect in your daily life with someone who is offering you, service at a restaurant, or who is standing in line in front of you, or who is, your coworker. Sometimes listening is not just about what we do with our ears, but also what we do with our whole bodies, with our eyes. Hearing each other doesn't necessarily require mutually intelligible, verbal language. Sometimes it is about feeling each other, right? And so connection can take place in really simple ways every day, in every relationship and encounter. And if you determine that you are going to build that connection, forge it, nourish it, and also absorb it, I think that there's so much that can happen if you have that approach as you go out into your day, but also build that into your action planning. Remember that part of peace building action is quiet work, humble, simple work of making ourselves recipients and receptacles for the stories of other people, for the strength of other people, for the needs of other people. And, if we give ourselves enough space, we can listen and learn so much about one another and from one another, in these really simple ways.
In 4 minutes, I can't imagine that our young people are going to want to provide eye contact to one of their classmates for 4 minutes, but they may want to do it for a minute, and they may feel uncomfortable, but teaching them to try to look and to see behind the eyes of their classmates, to take that in and what that looks and feels like. I encourage all of you to do the same with your young people. I did this as part of a leadership development thing many years ago with this one gentleman. It was really uncomfortable at first. And we still talk to this day. This was 4 years ago. We still talk to this time. That was the most important element of that entire leadership experience, because we were connected. And we are still connected. Now we do work together. And it was 4 minutes. Right? So we can build that into our days. We're going to share one more tool to support connection, and it's called restorative practices. I think if Maya and I had our way, we'd have every single school and every single home have restorative practices. It is a very compelling and successful process for people to heal, but more importantly for communities to help support those children that are struggling. They focus on relationships and community building. It's an approach to justice that focuses on the needs of the victims and the offenders, as well as the involved community, instead of satisfying abstract principles or punishing the offender. Restorative practices counter no-tolerance policies, especially for more minor offenses. Victims take an active role in the process, while offenders are encouraged to take responsibility for their actions, to repair the harm that they've done by apologizing, returning what was lost, or through community service. Restorative practices provide real justice for victims and help offenders to avoid future offenses. Safe dialogue between victims and offenders shows the highest rate of victim satisfaction and offender accountability. Maya and I are not fans of suspension. The worst thing we can do is send kids out. Right? Those are the kids that really need to be and be surrounded. And so how do we do that work? It's hard. It takes skills, it takes professional development, it takes technical assistance, but we're here to help. The next tool that we would like to share, next slide, and I'll turn it over to Maya, is I wish my
So this is a video that it just shows the power of a single curious teacher to build an environment of connection, in their classroom. The same can be done in the home and in community spaces. As you watch this video, I would love for you to think about what you wish your teacher or parent knew about you when you were younger. But you see that this connection begins with a sense of real curiosity, with inquiry. So let's watch this video.
It's hard to learn on an empty stomach, but nearly 7 million elementary school kids in America live in poverty. 15 million are eligible for free lunches. Many don't like to talk about it, but a teacher in Denver has found a way to get her students to open up. Here's Barry Peterson.
What's your evidence for her being greedy?
Third grade teacher Kyle Schwartz is used to telling her students about the world, but she wanted to know about the world they live in, where 93% of the students qualify for meal assistance.
It's just this simple, powerful way to help kids advocate for themselves.
She created a simple assignment where she wrote, "I wish my teacher knew that," and they filled in the answer. Some of the answers were, "My reading log is not signed because my mom is not around a lot. I miss my dad because he got deported to Mexico when I was 3 years old, and I haven't seen him in 6 years. I don't have pencils at home to do my homework."
So I can give them pencils.
Once you know.
Once I know.
Mikhaila Linkevich wanted to explain why she sometimes comes to school tired.
What I wanted her to know is that I don't get much sleep at night because my baby sister, and she cries a lot.
A great idea caught on. Last month, Schwartz posted some of the students' work on Twitter. Teachers in at least 17 states have used the assignment. A student in Winchester, Virginia wrote, "I got bullied on the bus, and it made me feel sad." Some were typical kid gripes. "My homework is not as easy on Mondays."
All right, what's your reading?
But the biggest change was in her own classroom.
When there was a note that said, "I wish my teacher knew I don't have a friend to play with," that next day at recess, all the girls huddled around her and they were all playing together because kids support each other.
I asked one third grader, "Why not just talk to your teacher about your thoughts or needs?" He said it was a lot easier writing it down as a class assignment. As we all know, Scott, sometimes it's a little tougher to say things out loud.
One great idea. Barry, thank you very much.
So it's one great idea. Again, it's a simple matter of building a sort of routine, a ritual of inquiry, and it forges connections not only between the teacher and the students, but between the students themselves as they support one another. And it is about understanding that the world outside impacts the world of the classroom, that all of these worlds are working in tandem, and we somehow still work in very siloed ways. But to be deliberate about building connections between those worlds means that we can support the world of home, of the things that are happening in community, from the classroom, and vice versa. So Carrie, I feel like you were about to say something about this, but go ahead. No?
I was just gonna highlight, those are the connection tools that we are covering, right? Restorative practices. I wish my teacher knew, I wish my parent knew. I did this with my own children. I was shocked to hear what they said. I just never asked the question, and I let them write it down. It just sparked a beautiful opportunity for me to talk with them about some of the things they were showing me.
Absolutely. So I would love for
is focused on courage. Our second word for today. So what can we do to strengthen courage?
How mad do you get when you see something wrong taking place? Just take another look at what happens when our innocent bystanders reach the boiling point. Deep in the heart of Texas, at this little roadside bakery, bigotry is being served with the coffee and Danish.
Sir, I had a question.
No, ma'am. We don't serve Muslims here.
I'm sorry.
This is America. We're at war with your people.
I don't know what you think I am. I'm just trying to get an apple.
Well, you're a terrorist is what you are. So
Excuse me?
you got to take your business elsewhere. We don't serve your kind here.
The other customers at this bakery near Waco seem to hear everything, but they barely look at the Muslim woman, even when the language is tough to take.
Get back on the camel and go back wherever you came from.
Sir, I'm an American. I was born and raised
No,
in
you're
this
not.
country.
Americans don't wear towels on their head.
Muslim Americans say these are words they hear all the time in all parts of the country. But here at the bakery, what the customers don't know is that this Muslim woman and the man behind the counter are actors. The bakery is working with us, all part of a primetime hidden camera experiment on prejudice and patriotism.
Please take your business elsewhere. Am I asking too much?
When no one even tries to help her, she makes a direct appeal.
Sir, would you mind ordering me an apple strudel? That's why I'm here. I can give you the money. I have no problem.
That's not a problem with the money, huh? How much?
Please no, sir.
Huh?
I'm not going to let
No,
you
how
order.
much do I owe you?
But when he gives her the cold shoulder, she finally just leaves. You could have helped her out. You could have spoken up. Why not?
Me speak up for her? Well, if he would try to do some harm to her or something, then I would have.
But why not try to set him straight?
I really think that a person that owns his own business should be able to say who they sell to.
She's not American.
Others seem to agree with our actor as to who's an American and who's not. Is it all based on the way we look?
I'm an American citizen. I just would like an apple strudel, please.
Well, I'm sorry. Then why don't you dress like an American? You're
this
so
is
American.
for religious purposes, sir, and I don't think you have any right to say anything
So
about
I'm
that.
religious. I don't wear, Halloween costumes around. I mean, am I wrong here, sir?
Not me.
I run my business the way I want to
That's
run.
right. That's right. Don't come in here without shoes and shirt on.
This customer is adamant that the man behind the counter is doing the right thing.
I'm ready for you.
But the fact is, it's against the law to deny service to someone based on their race or religion. My name is John Quinones, and I'm with ABC News. What did you think of what you heard here?
I didn't hear anything racist.
He told her he wouldn't serve her.
Well, he can say he wouldn't serve you if you come in here barefooted without a shirt on.
But she wasn't barefoot or without a shirt on.
Well, she wasn't dressed right.
What do you mean?
If I was running a place, I'd do the same thing.
You wouldn't let Muslims shop at your store?
I sure wouldn't.
We never expected customers to be so candid.
How do I know you don't have a bomb in there?
Watch what happens this time when, once again, our Muslim woman is denied service
This is not right.
and again leaves.
I mean, we reserve the right to not serve.
That's right.
A certain kind.
That's right. That's, I appreciate seeing that. I think that's the first time I've ever seen that.
He not only commends the man behind the counter for his discriminatory behavior, but he gives him the thumbs up, not once, but twice,
Good job.
All right.
as he leaves.
Sir, can I talk to you, sir, for a second?
But when I approach,
Sir, we're with ABC News.
there is no thumbs up for me.
We staged a little experiment in there to see how people would react to that kind of attitude.
You're not an American.
I am an American.
That man took it a bit farther, telling me I'm not an American.
He was threatened.
Jack DeVideo is a social psychologist at Yale University.
So when we as Americans feel threatened from the outside, we're going to define ourselves in very rigid fashions. Either you're with me, and if you're not really one of me, then you must be somebody else who's against me.
The young woman in our experiment is an actor, but for this woman, discrimination is all too real. Nahaya Javed helped us design our experiment. Although born in Chicago, she says she's constantly characterized by fellow Americans as the enemy.
They always start off with, you're a terrorist, Osama lover, towel head, camel jockey, on and on.
While attending college in Texas, she says she continually suffered verbal abuse and has even been physically attacked just because she's Muslim.
They assume I'm not from here, and if I tell them I'm American, they're like, no, you're not. Just because you were born here doesn't make you American. And I'm like, so what makes you American?
It's a daily battle.
Mm-hmm. And I don't feel like living in America, I should have to fight this battle.
Meanwhile, back at the bakery, our actor is at it again.
But how do I know you're not a terrorist? Terrorists look like you.
But this time the customers are sympathizing with the Muslim woman.
Right, I know, but can you blame me?
Yeah, I can't blame you, actually.
Why? What's the problem?
All right, we'll get out of here. You need to go yourself, actually. What do you need to do?
Okay, sir.
Thank you,
I'm a
sir.
good American, all right? We're at war with these people.
My dad's a veteran. Go yourself.
So is mine.
And he's not the only one who walks out in anger.
You need to stop segregating against people. It's wrong.
Excuse me?
She's an American
No,
just like
you're a
everyone
bad
else.
American.
Time and again, people speak out with their pocketbooks.
You lost a couple of customers, just so you know.
But look what happens when this man threatens to leave.
You're not a good American, sir.
I believe I am a good American. My son just came back from serving in the Army for over a year in Iraq, and that has nothing to do with her rights.
I understand that.
Thank you, sir.
And I hear what you're saying. But
I can't believe you would be so discriminatory. I'm deeply offended by that.
I'm sorry to offend you, sir, but I've got to live with myself.
Seething, the man vows to fight back.
I will let people know this. I've stopped here every time I've come by this place, and I'll never stop here again.
Why did folks get so upset?
They saw an injustice. It's justice that binds us together. It's justice that makes us a society. Any threat to that kind of sense of justice and fairness undermines the entire system.
You're really not going to serve her because
No.
of what she's wearing?
No, I'm not.
Perhaps that's why more customers are outraged by our actor's hateful behavior than approve of it.
You're not dressed like an American. I don't know
But
what
no
you have
one
on.
is more persistent than these two young women who can't believe what they're hearing.
Take your jihad, take it back out to the parking lot.
Excuse me?
I mean, I got to protect my customers, okay?
You're really offensive and disgusting.
Well, I'm sorry. I'm just trying to protect you here
Thank
because
you.
you
You're
don't know what's
sick.
going
Dress
on.
like that doesn't mean anything. This is a different
How do you know?
culture. You are
These people
so
are trying to
ignorant.
kill Americans.
It's disgusting. It is my culture. So you're ready to serve me, but you're not ready to serve her.
You're obviously dressed like an American.
Big deal. She's Muslim.
And unlike the others, they don't just leave in anger. They stand their ground.
So you're going to regulate what people wear?
Yes, because I believe
you
the
the
degree
manager?
of... No, I'm not the manager.
Can I speak to your manager?
I'm John Quinones with ABC News.
It's only when we catch up with our heroines that they finally let their guards down.
I'm with my friend who's, Muslim, and that's, I've just seen how people treat them differently. And it really hurts me.
Just watching them stand up for what they believe in touches Professor DeVidio.
In a way, they defended America, and I was impressed by that, because they wanted this to be a just society, a just place, a just bakery.
I'm John Quinones.
And remember this man whose son served in Iraq? He's also moved to tears.
Every person deserves to be treated with respect and dignity.
No matter how
in
they're
every
dressed.
situation, no matter how they're dressed.
Never have we seen reactions so polarized, from a thumbs up for prejudice to an emphatic thumbs down.
Go yourself.
Two different Americas, both convinced they're patriotic. At the end of the day, 13 people stood up for the Muslim woman, while 6 sided with the clerk. But the majority of the bystanders, 22, did or said absolutely nothing. That's what's most frightening to Muslims like Nahaya, who was watching our experiment. In fact, so frightening that they often avoid going out by themselves.
It's really sad because I'm old enough to be able to do things by myself. I shouldn't need a chaperone all the time. But that one time that I'm alone and something bad might happen, I'd rather be safe than sorry. Hi, I'm Nahaya.
It's no wonder this young woman was so moved by the people who came forward to protect a stranger who just happens to be Muslim.
Thank you so much for what you did, and I wish more people would do these type of things. And
I do too.
it would make my life a lot easier.
God go with you.
Okay, that's powerful, isn't it? And we across the point. And there's lots of different ways of differentiating people. It's ethnic based, it's race based, it's economic based, it's who deserves to be here, who doesn't deserve to be here. And our kids are having all of those conversations. And so how do we as adults around our young people be upstanders? How do we provide safe spaces for us to have these conversations? This particular episode, or this particular series is called What Would You Do? It's a really fabulous teaching tool to show students. There's like over 100 little videos from across the country. It's a great tool for them to react to. So if you're not comfortable hosting those conversations yourselves, there's a lot of resources out there that you don't have to be the messenger, that you can talk to and speak to. And so I'm gonna skip this activity just for time. But here's a question that I'm going to ask all of you to reflect on, and if you have time later today, we'll discuss it. We'd like you to come up with your entry response when you see an injustice happening. You know, the reason that 22 people didn't do anything is because they didn't know what to do. It isn't because they weren't impacted by it, it's because they didn't know what to do. And so for some people, the comfort level is to address injustice directly using the words. Others, they address it directly through their pocketbooks. I'm not shopping here anymore. I actually did that here locally on a walk in a certain restaurant because of blatant injustices that we witnessed. You can write letters to the editor. You can publicize. There's all different ways of being an upstander. And so, but we need to interrupt it. Right, so I want you to think about what would be your entry response when you see an injustice happening. Is it verbal? Is it non-verbal? And what are the different ways that we can be upstanders? I'm just gonna let you sit with that question. Jot it down if you want. We can talk about it in the action plan process. Maya, back to you for what can we do to support commitment?
Thank you. You know, that video, I've seen it a number of times and it always makes me cry. But yes, yeah, I mean, it's such an important question that you asked, Carrie. And, you know, insofar as just, you know, remember that, you know, when we are educating someone, that is action. You know, when we are engaging in reflection, when we are sharing other people's stories, those are actions. Those are upstander actions. Action doesn't have to look, you know, like, you know, someone, you know, activating their physical energy, and it doesn't have to look loud, and it doesn't have to be loud, right? There are innumerable ways to be upstanders that are safe. So that's such a good question. Next, we're going to be watching a video about, you know, how we commit to our keiki from an incredible educator whom we unfortunately lost not long after the recording of this particular talk. But as you're watching Rita Pearson, please watch from the perspective of any adult with a meaningful role in a child's life. Don't just see it from the perspective of a teacher, but in fact, any adult. Yes, enjoy the video.
I have spent my entire life either at the schoolhouse, on the way to the schoolhouse, or talking about what happens in the schoolhouse. Both my parents were educators. My maternal grandparents were educators. And for the past 40 years, I've done the same thing. And so needless to say, over those years, I've had a chance to look at education reform from a lot of perspectives. Some of those reforms have been good, some of them have been not so good. And we know why kids drop out. We know why kids don't learn. It's either poverty, low attendance, negative peer influences. We know why. But one of the things that we never discuss, or we rarely discuss, is the value and importance of human connection. Relationships. James Comer says that no significant learning can occur without a significant relationship. George Washington Carver says all learning is understanding relationships. Everyone in this room has been affected by a teacher or an adult. For years, I have watched people teach. I have looked at the best and I've looked at some of the worst. A colleague said to me one time, they don't pay me to like the kids. They pay me to teach a lesson. The kids should learn it. I should teach it. They should learn it. Case closed. Well, I said to her, you know, kids don't learn from people they don't like. She said, that's just a bunch of hooey. And I said to her, well, your year is going to be long and arduous, dear. Needless to say, it was. Some people think that you can either have it in you to build a relationship or you don't. I think Stephen Covey had the right idea. He said you ought to just throw in a few simple things, like seeking first to understand as opposed to being understood. Simple things like apologizing. You ever thought about that? Tell a kid you're sorry, they're in shock. I taught a lesson once on ratios. I'm not real good with math, but I was working on it. And I got back and looked at that teacher edition. I taught the whole lesson wrong. So I came back to class the next day and I said, look, guys, I need to apologize. I taught the whole lesson wrong. I'm so sorry. They said, that's okay, Miss Pearson. You were so excited. We just let you go. I have had classes that were so low, so academically deficient that I cried. I wondered, how am I going to take this group in 9 months from where they are to where they need to be? And it was difficult. It was awfully hard. How do I raise the self-esteem of a child and his academic achievement at the same time? One year I came up with a bright idea. I told all my students, you were chosen to be in my class. Because I am the best teacher and you are the best students, they put us all together so we could show everybody else how to do it. One of the students said, really? I said, really? We have to show the other classes how to do it. So when we walk down the hall, people will notice us. So you can't make noise, you just have to strut. And I gave him a saying to say, I am somebody. I was somebody when I came. I'll be a better somebody when I leave. I am powerful and I am strong. I deserve the education that I get here. I have things to do, people to impress, and places to go. And they said, yeah. You say it long enough, it starts to be a part of you. And so, I gave a quiz, 20 questions. Student missed 18. I put a +2 on this paper and a big smiley face. He said, Miss Pearson, is this an F? I said, yes. He said, then why'd you put a smiley face? I said, because you on the roll. You got 2 right, you didn't miss them all. I said, and when we review this, won't you do better? He said, yes, ma'am, I can do better. You see, -18 sucks all the life out of you. +2 said, I ain't all bad. For years, I watched my mother take the time at recess to review, go on home visits in the afternoon, buy combs and brushes and peanut butter and crackers to put in her desk drawer for kids that needed to eat, and a washcloth and some soap for the kids who didn't smell so good. See, it's hard to teach kids who stink. And kids can be cruel. And so she kept those things in her desk, and years later, after she retired, I watched some of those same kids come through and say to her, you know, Miss Walker, you made a difference in my life. You made it work for me. You made me feel like I was somebody when I knew at the bottom I wasn't. And I want you to just see what I've become. And when my mama died 2 years ago at 92, there were so many former students at her funeral. It brought tears to my eyes, not because she was gone, but because she left a legacy of relationships that could never disappear. Can we stand to have more relationships? Absolutely. Will you like all your children? Of course not. And you know your toughest kids are never absent. Never. You won't like them all, and the tough ones show up for a reason. It's the connection, it's the relationships. And while you won't like them all, the key is they can never, ever know it. So teachers become great actors and great actresses, and we come to work when we don't feel like it, and we listen to policy that doesn't make sense, and we teach anyway. We teach anyway because that's what we do. Teaching and learning should bring joy. How powerful would our world be if we had kids who were not afraid to take risks, who were not afraid to think, and who had a champion? Every child deserves a champion, an adult who will never give up on them, who understands the power of connection and insists that they become the best that they can possibly be. Is this job tough? You betcha. Oh God, you betcha. But it is not impossible. We can do this. We're educators. We're born to make a difference. Thank you so much.
Ask all of you to take a moment, and I want you to think about a young person in your life that you can be a champion for. There's somebody in your classroom, somebody in your family, someone in your neighborhood, in a program that you're supporting. I want you to think of one child, and I want you to write that child's name down somewhere, either on your phone, or on your paper. I'll give you about a minute to think about that.
By the way, up on the screen, this is Scott's lovely family, baby and partner. So beautiful.
Okay, does everybody have their young person identity? Okay, let us come back. I'm just going to quickly review the tools that you just learned and I want to put them down as you consider your action plan. That would be great. So starting with connection, we learned about the 4 minutes of eye contact, right? 4 minutes of eye contact. For young people, maybe a minute or two. We also learned about restorative practices and how important those are in our homes and in our environments. I wish my teacher or my parent knew tool. We talked about upstander tools. What's our lead-in comment to interrupt injustices that we're seeing? How do we do that with our own kids? Right? How do we do that when we see adults, showing injustices to each other? For commitment, who are we committing to? Who is that young person that you are going to be that one adult for, that needs your help right now? So those are just some tools that we wanted to leave you with today. And now I'm going to turn over to Maya to talk about the action planning process. And we will have the rest of today to talk about all these other tools and we can help you with the action plan.
This is so exciting, folks. You get to activate your energy. You get to make a plan. So we at Seeds of Peace, we use sort of design thinking and backwards mapping, and it's so effective. We cannot build what we cannot envision, right? And so the first step is envisioning our harvest, right? Imagine a change that you want to see. Imagine a peaceful home, school, or community. What does that look like? Right? And so you need to really see the fruits of your labor before you take action. And then you're going to be preparing the soil. So this means pulling up weeds if there are barriers to peace. Where are the opportunities to achieve your vision? Who do you need on your team? Who are you going to have beside you planting and digging up the soil and watering it, right? And then you're going to plant the seeds. You're going to identify the specific tools, activities, approaches, organizations, individuals, thought partners that will help to address the barriers that you've identified. And very important, you're going to think about how to nurture ongoing growth and sustained success in your action plan. So you're going to move backwards, and in so doing, you're going to develop everything you need, not just for your action plan today, but really to grow your peace building farmer identity. Next slide, please. For tomorrow. So here's some sample Seeds action planning. And there are a lot of wonderful examples on our website. But here we see that a peaceful elementary school classroom where students get along, embrace one another's differences and challenges, and spread kindness and compassion and peace, not just in the classroom, but beyond the walls of the classroom in this school environment. So this is our harvest. This is what we envision. Okay, well, let's think about our barriers. Students are having a hard time getting along with one another. There's conflict in the classroom. Students have expressed their struggle, their sadness. They weren't welcome, they weren't embraced, they weren't allowed to sit by another. And so we think about, who do we need there planting beside us? We need school administrators and fellow teachers, other students, maybe students' families, right? Now we plant the seeds. What seeds are we going to plant? Perhaps peace-relevant literature, wonderful, like Polly Pastrami, Builds World Peace is a great story, or Say Something about upstander identity. So we can select literature for children, books that encourage students to reflect on when they experience peace. Maybe we get them to identify what makes them feel peaceful. Maybe they draw pictures and engage in creative writing and write a book together. They can self-publish or just bind it together in an old-fashioned way with 3 holes and ribbon, right? How to spread peace, activate their ideas. Where have they seen peace, right? Maybe another tool that we use is think about having a peace leader in the classroom, where every day one student is made the peace leader. They are given that responsibility and they challenge their peers and themselves to do acts of peace, acts of kindness. Maybe another tool is, where they can identify acts of peace and kindness in their classroom and share that, those best ideas on the board, or talk about what made them feel good. Roses and thorns. Create maybe a peace mural and a peace garden so that these energies are activated outside under the sunshine, creating more spaces on campus to facilitate peace building. So once those seeds and tools are planted and acquired, we have to think about, well, how do we nurture that to sustain beyond this particular cluster of students, beyond this particular teacher? How do we empower other classes to shape their own themes and activities for the school year? Can this be brought into the school policy? Can there be a peace play or a peace seminar? Can other teachers and be trained on efforts that they can utilize and, take the work of one classroom and replicate it in other classrooms? So this is all, part of a healthy, robust action planning. You must again imagine. Now, when you do, what does that look, taste, sound, and feel like? Where are the problems? If this weren't here, then this could happen. So if then, you want to look at those barriers realistically, but you don't want to be overcome by them. You want to think about doing things collaboratively in teams with others, inviting others to come, cast your net widely, think about the barriers and problems in multifaceted ways, and find solutions that are also multifaceted. Be specific about your tools, make sure they're doable. You can start by looking at the Ceeds toolkit, but also consider other resources beyond our toolkit, curricula, articles, best practices that you find online, and share with us and others, right? So this is going to be a lot of fun. You're going to have facilitators to help you to implement all of this. But please do get excited about it. Next slide, please. All right, so here are some ideas that you can think about. If you're in a family, think about a family reset plan, to post-COVID, reduce anxieties, improve a sense of wellness and well-being. You think about alliances in school. Where are there communities in school, on campus, that need support, that need that upstander energy, that need connection? Build alliances. Maybe it's with the LGBTQ+ community, maybe it's others. You think about where perhaps there are communities here in Hawaii that have faced discrimination and are in need of greater support and understanding and voice, and that strength-based storytelling. You could think about an action plan that is out in the community, a stream restoration project, or something that is about giving back to the community. Maybe create a community, a canoe garden. Think about where there are places in need of energy, administration, connection, and activities. Or you could think about movement building, like March for Our Lives. What are the movements that need your energy and the energy of youth around us? So these are just some examples for you to consider as you imagine your actions. Next slide, please.
The past participants have implemented. So we have more action plans on our website as examples. So to close out, so now be a Ceeds of Peace workshop if we didn't end with kid presidents. And so as we think about the reemergence from COVID, as we think about the redesign and reimagining of what we're doing together, we want to send you off with this message of welcome to this world. So as you think about welcoming our kids back, let's take a listen.
There's a lot that the kids need to know. A letter to a person on their first day here. Today, over 360,000 babies will be born, and you are one of them. Welcome, this is the world. It's a pretty cool place. There's lots to see, smell, there's corn dogs. I'm getting ahead of myself. There's just so much to do. Singing, dancing, and laughing. Laughing's the best. It's especially great when you laugh and milk comes out of your nose. But only if you just have milk. Otherwise, it's just gross. Some days gross things will happen. Some days awesome things will happen. Some days you'll get ice cream. Some days you won't. Some days your kite will fly high. Some days it gets stuck in the tree. It's just how it is here. There's plenty of reasons to dance. You just gotta look for them. Don't worry though, you won't be doing this alone. You're going to meet lots of people here. Some of them will be really nice and some won't be. It's not that they can't be, it's just, maybe they're just having a bad day. Being a person is hard sometimes. You should give people high fives just for getting out of bed. Oh, high fives, I forgot to explain that. How do I explain this? It's kind of, high fives are like hitting someone who is your friend. That's really bad. Just treat everybody like it's their birthday, even if they don't deserve it. Because we all mess up sometimes. The biggest mess up, not forgiving each other's mess ups. Maybe you'll be a teacher. Maybe you'll be president. Maybe you'll cure every disease ever. You might even see the Grand Canyon, swim in the ocean. Oh, this is so much. It's a lot. Try this, take a breath. Isn't that amazing? It's called breathing. You're gonna do it a lot, but nobody knows exactly how much. So enjoy it. Pay attention. Take brain pictures. Because amazing things will happen every day. You're gonna do so much, but it's not about what you do. It's about who you are. And you're awesome. You're made that way. You're made from love, to be loved, to spread love. Love is always louder, no matter what. Even if hate has a bullhorn, love is louder. So let your life be loud. Let's shout to the world. Things can be better. It's okay about all the mess ups. We're not wrong. Sorry, I'm just keep bringing that up. I don't think I told you this yet. We're really glad you're here. We don't say that enough to each other here because, well, life gets busy. You're gonna be important and you're gonna do a lot and you're gonna smell great, but don't get too busy. Remember to let everybody know you're glad they're here. You don't have to remember all this right now. You're gonna need a pep talk sometimes, and that's okay. For now, remember this. You're awake, you're awesome, live like it.
Forward to supporting your action plan. Next step.
Thanks, Carrie. We're just going to take a really quick break, 5 minutes. It is 10:22. We'd love for you folks to be back by 10:28, if that's possible. Grab some snacks, use the restroom. If you need to leave early, go ahead and check to make sure nobody is locking you in. If somebody is, please let us know. Okay? We'll see you folks back at 28. Thank you. Oh, Maya, did you want to say something?
No, I just wanted to say thank you. Mahalo. Love you.